If I told you that World War III has already begun, would you believe me? Not with nuclear explosions or soldiers on your streets, but quietly in boardrooms, secret military memorandums, and silent strategic moves happening right now across the planet. A war that is already reshaping borders, alliances, and the future of humanity. A war no leader wants to admit publicly. Because once they do, it becomes real. Look around. The world is not preparing for peace. The world is preparing for war. Before we dive deeper into this shocking truth, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this video from right now? Because the events unfolding at this very moment may directly affect your city, your home, and your future. Whether you're in Pakistan, India, Saudi Arabia, the United States, the UK, Canada, the Middle East, or anywhere else in the world. Understand this: the decisions being made in secret war rooms and political chambers could change your life forever. This is not just another news update. This is a warning. A warning that world leaders will never openly give you. So comment below with your country and stay with me until the end. Because once you hear what I'm about to reveal, your view of the world will never be the same again. The tension is no longer hidden. Russia, China, the United States, NATO, Iran, Israel, North Korea, Pakistan, and India all are repositioning forces, upgrading weapon systems, forming secret alliances, and speaking in coded threats. Never since 1939 has humanity stood this close to a global ignition point. Experts warn that modern warfare will not start with an announcement. It will begin in silence. Not with one attack, but a chain reaction, a spark somewhere small that spirals into something uncontrollable. Some analysts say one wrong missile, one invasion miscalculation, one assassination, and the world catches fire. But here's the most unsettling truth. All the signs of pre-war mobilization are already visible. Every world war begins with the world splitting into sides. And right now, the map is dividing again. In one corner, we have the Western Alliance, including the United States, the United Kingdom, NATO, the European Union, Japan, Australia, and South Korea. In the other, the Eastern Military Axis is forming, led by Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, with several silent partners waiting to show their cards. The world has been quietly choosing sides, not publicly, but through energy deals, defense agreements, trade war moves, and covert military buildups. This is not peace behavior. This is wartime positioning. While the world's attention is distracted by elections and media drama, something far more serious just happened, something that barely made the headlines. Recently, the United States and the United Kingdom signed a new defense memorandum of understanding. This isn't just a friendly handshake. It's a major step to strengthen cooperation on hypersonic weapon technology, artificial intelligence in warfare, nuclear submarine readiness, and joint cyber warfare frameworks. Nations can't sign agreements like this unless they are re-preparing for a conflict so large they cannot face it alone. Behind closed doors, officials reportedly discuss joint emergency response strategies and rapid deployment forces, with scenarios involving China, Russia, and Iran. This isn't routine cooperation, this is preparation. And on the other side, the Eastern Axis is rising. China has rapidly increased its military facilities along the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, with frequent fighter jet incursions and naval blockade drills. Russia continues its large-scale military operations and weapon production despite sanctions, signaling readiness for a long-term war, not just a short-term conflict. Meanwhile, Iran has expanded its influence through proxy militias across the Middle East and has advanced its missile capabilities. Together, these nations have something the West fears: a unified strategic purpose to challenge the current world order. Every global war begins with a spark, and right now, the Middle East is the world's burning fuse. With conflicts escalating, nations are mobilizing. Israel and Iran exchange threats daily. U.S. forces have increased their presence in the region. armed groups aligned with Iran continue to launch strikes, and vital oil shipping lanes face constant military blockage risks. It would only take one attack on a major oil facility, one naval confrontation, or one missile strike in the wrong direction, and the conflict would spill beyond its borders, pulling in global powers. What happens next in the Middle East may depend heavily on alliances that rarely make global headlines, like the growing military cooperation between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Recent collaborations involve defense training, intelligence sharing, and joint strategic planning. Both nations understand that if a regional conflict expands, they will be on the front lines, whether by geography or by obligation. Some analysts believe that if the Middle East erupts, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia may be forced to choose sides, and that decision could alter the balance of global power. Why? Because Pakistan has one of the largest professional armies in the world and a powerful nuclear deterrent. And Saudi Arabia controls the world's most influential oil supply. These are not small players, these are war-changing players. We are now entering the most dangerous stage, the countdown. The silent preparation before the explosion. The signs are everywhere. The largest global military troop movements since World War II. Record-breaking defense budgets worldwide, and a frantic race for hypersonic weapons and cyber warfare capabilities. Nations are strategically positioning themselves around key sea routes, and economists warn that global recession trends are mirroring pre-World War II patterns. Historians point out that the political polarization we see today is identical to Europe just before 1939. This is not a coincidence. This is a trajectory. So, if war hasn't started, why is the world acting like it has? Maybe because it already has, quietly, in secret, behind the masks of diplomacy. Not with bombs, but with strategy. Not with invasion headlines, but with moves on a global chessboard. The next conflict will not be like the last. It will be faster, darker, silent, and unstoppable once it's triggered. The future may not be decided by leaders, diplomats, or peace talks, but by a single miscalculation, a single missile, a single misunderstanding in the shadows. Humanity has never been closer to the edge. The world is holding its breath. The pieces are moving. The countdown has begun. But the real question is, who will strike first? Silence has fallen across the world stage, but this isn't the silence of peace. It's the silence of fear. It's the kind of silence that arrives just before history breaks in half. The kind that military commanders recognize instantly. The kind soldiers hear right before artillery fire shatters the horizon. Because beneath the carefully crafted speeches meant to calm us down, the world is preparing for impact. Every nation, every leader, every intelligence agency understands what most of us still can't see. The storm is already here. It's just waiting for the first lightning strike. While we're all watching sports, entertainment, scandals, and elections, the real game is unfolding somewhere else. It's happening deep inside war rooms, defense bunkers, and encrypted communication channels that no journalist is allowed to see. Satellite images are being studied like sacred texts, and generals are whispering strategies the world isn't ready to hear. The international order that survived for decades has now shattered like glass. Trust is dead. Diplomacy is dying. Every handshake is now just camouflage for confrontation. Two worlds are forming, two rival camps preparing for the greatest power collision humanity has ever seen. On one side, we have the Western Bloc, led by the United States. It's still the most heavily militarized nation in human history, spending more on its military than the next 10 nations combined. Standing beside it is the United Kingdom, reshaping its post-Brexit destiny through military dominance, not just diplomacy. And behind them, NATO, a shield forged for war, not peace. It was a coalition designed to fight the Soviet Empire, and now it's preparing for a new enemy. Their allies are formidable. France, with its nuclear submarines lurking beneath the Atlantic. Germany, quietly rearming for the first time since World War II. Japan rewriting its constitution to allow for offensive warfare. And Australia hosting hypersonic weapons aimed at the Indo-Pacific. Together, they form the strongest military network ever created, but also the most threatened, because standing against them is a rising empire determined to rewrite the world. At the center of this Eastern alliance stands China, a superpower that built its strength not with war, but with silence and patience. It's a nation that built roads, ports, and digital surveillance systems across 70 countries, pulling the world into its orbit without firing a single bullet. Beside it stands Russia, reborn from humiliation, armed with the largest nuclear arsenal on Earth, and led by a man who has made it clear he will burn the world before surrendering. He once said, "If Russia does not exist, then why do we need a world at all?" Those are words that sent shivers through Western intelligence agencies. Supporting them are Iran, North Korea, and now, in a move that has shaken the global power map, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. Together, they form a rival system, one that rejects Western dominance and demands a new world order. Two camps, one planet, and somewhere between them, a fuse is burning. While the superpowers clash through sanctions, propaganda, and cyber attacks, the real battlefield is emerging in the Middle East region where every war becomes everyone's war. For years, Saudi Arabia relied on Western protection, especially American weapons and security guarantees. But that trust has cracked. The world watched as the Middle East burned Gaza, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon. With every unanswered explosion, Saudi Arabia realized a brutal truth. Washington protects interests, not allies. That is why the recent, quietly structured defense alliance between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia has terrified policymakers across Washington and London. Behind the cameras, this agreement reportedly includes shared military training, integrated missile defense systems, advanced weapons development, and rapid reaction forces. But most importantly, it involves a strategic nuclear contingency understanding. Saudi Arabia has the world's most powerful economic weapon, oil. Pakistan has a nuclear-capable military, battle-hardened and strategically located. One holds the resources, the other holds the shield. Together, they are rewriting the future of the Middle East, and the message is unmistakable. We will not depend on America anymore. This sent shockwaves through the halls of power in Washington, a betrayal far more painful than any diplomatic disagreement. In response, the United States and the United Kingdom moved quickly and secretly to reinforce their own military union. A new defense agreement was signed, expanding joint nuclear submarine patrols, hypersonic missile development, and cyber warfare operations targeting foreign energy grids. Publicly, officials called it strategic modernization. Privately, classified reports describe it as an emergency war readiness protocol. The West fears something it cannot control: a future where oil, military power, and political influence all shift away from Washington. For the first time in decades, the balance of global power isn't just shifting, it's collapsing. And the most dangerous battlefield right now isn't Ukraine or Taiwan. It's the Red Sea. This is the world's most critical trade route, the main artery of the global economy. The attacks on shipping, the missile launches, the naval confrontations, what started as regional resistance has now become a global economic chokehold. The United States has deployed warships. The UK has launched airstrikes. Iran-aligned forces have vowed retaliation. And watching from the sidelines, China and Russia are positioning themselves for intervention. The chessboard is nearly full. One wrong move, one missile landing in the wrong place, and the Red Sea could become the spark that ignites a global war. But before the bombs fall, before the tanks move, modern war begins silently. It starts with digital blackouts, banking failures, media manipulation, and artificial intelligence propaganda. It starts with cyber attacks on power grids and water systems, and that war has already begun. Banks across Europe and America have tested emergency shutdown protocols. China has launched state-backed cyber operations targeting U.S. electrical networks. NATO has activated Article 5 digital defense strategies for the first time in history. The battlefield is now everywhere. Your phone, your internet, your electricity, your money. The first victims of the next war won't be soldiers. They will be civilians seen, unprepared, and uninformed. Governments are preparing for a future where the global economy fractures overnight. A future of food shortages, oil embargoes, currency collapses, and the shutdown of vital exports. A world where countries compete not for power, but for survival. Oil prices could skyrocket beyond anything we've ever experienced. Shipping lines could freeze. Stock markets could disintegrate in hours. War is no longer just fought on battlefields. It's fought in our grocery stores and at our gas stations. This brings us to the final, terrifying question. If war does erupt for real, if that first missile is launched, who stands with whom? The alliance map is taking shape. In the Western camp, the United States, the UK, France, Germany, Japan, Australia, Canada, and their NATO partners. In the Eastern camp, China, Russia, Iran, Pakistan, and North Korea, with Saudi Arabia and possibly Turkey shifting east. And then there are the undecided wildcards: India, Indonesia, Brazil, South Africa. So many nations, so many interests, so many lines drawn in silence. In private intelligence reports, one chilling prediction repeats. The first 48 hours of World War III will decide the future of humanity. We are standing at the edge of the abyss. Every warning sign is flashing red. Military drills are multiplying at record levels. Troop mobilizations are hidden under the guise of training exercises. Weapons production is operating 24/7. Leaders are holding secret meetings at undisclosed locations. History is repeating itself. The world has been here before, in 1914 and 1939, when global war began suddenly, unexpectedly, and brutally. But today, the world is more armed, more divided, and more unstable than at any other time in human existence. The question no leader dares to answer openly is, who will fire the first shot? War doesn't start with explosions. It starts with preparation. Before soldiers move, before cities burn, leaders already know what's coming. The decisions have been made. The forces have been positioned. The orders have been written. We are no longer heading toward war. We are living inside the opening chapter of it. There is just one final element missing the spark that turns this deafening silence into fire. And that is where our story continues. Because what comes next is the trigger event, the exact moment intelligence agencies believe will set the world on fire, and the terrifying 48-hour scenario that could follow. Once it begins, there will be no turning back. No negotiation, no escape, and the world as we know it today will end forever. A cold, almost imperceptible tension blankets the globe. While cities hum with the rhythm of daily life, something else is moving in the shadows. Fleets, battalions, cyber units, and satellites are all in motion, silent, precise, and poised. The world isn't just at the brink. It's standing on the very edge of a precipice where a single misstep could plunge us all into chaos. This isn't a movie script. This is the fragile reality of our time. And somewhere in the quiet hum of servers and the silent glide of submarines, a trigger is waiting. Unlike the world wars of the past, any conflict today would be a storm fought on 5 fronts at once. Experts from top global think tanks have mapped it out. First, there's the conventional military engagement we all recognize: armies, air forces, and navies mobilizing for battle. Second, the terrifying shadow of nuclear deterrence, where nations like Pakistan, India, Russia, China, and the United States hold the power to unleash unimaginable devastation. But the battlefields of the 21st century extend far beyond land, sea, and air. The third dimension is cyber warfare. Imagine your city's power grid going dark, your bank account vanishing, and all communication lines cut off without a single shot fired. Fourth, we have economic disruption. Energy blockades and severed trade routes could cripple the global economy in days, turning grocery stores and gas stations into front lines of a different kind. Finally, there's information warfare. The manipulation of social media and news can create panic and division faster than any invading army. The chilling part is how these 5 dimensions interconnect. A cyber attack could be mistaken for an act of war, triggering a military response that spirals into a global catastrophe. While many eyes are fixed on hotspots like Ukraine or Taiwan, some of the world's most astute strategic analysts are looking elsewhere to a narrow strip of water that has become the planet's most volatile flashpoint: the Red Sea. This corridor is the lifeblood of the global economy, carrying about 10% of world trade and nearly a third of all oil shipments. Right now, military movements by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and their allies have surged to unprecedented levels. Pakistan's recent naval exercises in the Arabian Sea, officially labeled routine, show a different story on satellite images: a rapid deployment of missile-capable ships. The danger here is a small spark igniting a global inferno. A simple collision between a commercial tanker and a naval destroyer could be misinterpreted as a hostile act. Intelligence sources report that both Iran and Israel have secret rapid response units in the region, capable of striking within hours. The entire Middle East is a web of interconnected tensions. Proxy conflicts simmer in Syria, Gaza, and Yemen, where Houthi missile strikes have already disrupted commercial shipping. Iran's military presence in the Persian Gulf acts as a direct challenge to American and Saudi influence. Each of these situations is a powder keg on its own. When combined, a single miscalculation anywhere could ignite a war that engulfs the entire region and, from there, the world. A new and powerful alliance is reshaping the strategic map of the Middle East. The recent defense pact between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia has sent ripples through global intelligence circles. While the full details are classified, experts have pieced together the core components. The agreement includes joint military drills focused on rapid deployment and integrated air defense. It also involves coordination on missile defense and, potentially, even nuclear delivery systems. This is paired with deep cyber and intelligence cooperation, allowing them to preemptively detect threats. The strategic implication is profound. Saudi Arabia gains a powerful regional security partner in Pakistan, while Pakistan secures a robust alliance that elevates its military and geopolitical standing. This partnership creates a significant counterbalance to traditional U.S. influence in the Gulf, forcing Washington to rethink its long-standing defense strategies in the region. It's a new chessboard with new, powerful pieces in play. At the very same time, on the other side of the world, a different alliance is tightening its grip. The United States and the United Kingdom have just signed a landmark multi-domain defense agreement. This isn't just business as usual. The memorandum includes joint development of hypersonic missile systems weapons that travel so fast they are nearly impossible to intercept. It also expands their joint cyber defense and, crucially, their counter-cyber strike capabilities. Furthermore, they are coordinating their nuclear submarine patrols across the Atlantic and the Indo-Pacific. A clear message to rivals. The UK is stepping up, positioning itself as America's primary global defense partner beyond its NATO commitments, with a focus on high-speed response units and autonomous weapons. This pact is more than just a renewal of old friendships. It's a direct and powerful signal to the emerging alliances in the East and the Middle East. The lines are being drawn, and the two sides are consolidating their power. Before the first missile is ever launched, the first battle of a modern war will likely be fought in silence through lines of code. Cybersecurity experts from the world's leading institutions are issuing stark warnings. They report that Russian and Chinese cyber units already possess the capability to target American and NATO power grids, potentially causing blackouts that would affect millions of people. At the same time, Iranian cyber teams could disrupt shipping and communications in the Persian Gulf, choking off global trade at a critical choke point. In response, nations like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan are scrambling to build defensive cyber protocols to prevent a digital attack from escalating into a full-blown military crisis. The greatest fear among analysts is that a single misinterpreted cyber attack, perhaps one that shuts down a hospital or an airport, could provoke a conventional military retaliation. Once that line is crossed, the chain reaction could become unstoppable. A cascade of events driven by code and escalating into conflict. The economic fallout of a global conflict would be as devastating as any military strike, and it would hit civilians first. The World Bank and the IMF have been sounding the alarm for months. The global oil and gas markets are incredibly fragile. Any disruption in the Red Sea or the Persian Gulf could cause prices to double or even triple overnight. Your trip to the gas station would suddenly become a major financial decision. Food security would be next. With critical shipping routes from the Middle East and the Black Sea shut down, global supply chains would collapse. Nations that depend on imported food and commodities would face immediate crises. Unlike wars of the past, the economic impact of a modern conflict would be felt almost instantly by everyone. Ordinary families would see the consequences reflected in their grocery bills, their heating costs, and their job security, long before the first soldier crosses a border. The economic front is no longer secondary. It's a primary theater of war. Military strategists have run countless simulations, modeling what they call the first 48 hours of a global escalation. While the scenarios differ, a chilling pattern emerges. On day one, military alerts are issued worldwide. Troops are mobilized, cyber attacks begin, and naval patrols intensify in contested waters. Minor incidents are likely to occur almost immediately. By day two, rapid response units from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, the US, and NATO allies would be conducting exercises near conflict zones, a thinly veiled show of force. Global supply chains would grind to a halt, financial markets would plummet, and cyber disruptions would become widespread. By day three, the tension would be at its peak. This is the window where a misinterpretation of military movements could trigger the first localized strikes. Analysts call this period maximum tension without confirmed global conflict. It's a terrifying gray zone, where every action, every signal, and every communication could be the one that ignites a wider war. Every simulation underscores the same terrifying variable: human decision-making. A misread signal, a technical glitch, or a false alarm could be the spark that sets the world on fire. And while leaders and generals make their moves, what about the rest of us? The vast majority of the world's population remains largely unaware of the silent maneuvers happening just beyond the headlines. We get our information from social media, news reports, and government statements, all of which provide partial and often misleading narratives. In this environment of uncertainty, fear spreads faster than facts. We could see panic buying, hoarding of essential supplies, and social unrest erupting even without a single shot being fired. Information warfare has become as powerful as military action. Our own minds, struggling to make sense of the chaos and uncertainty, could become the first casualties in a war we don't even know has begun. So imagine this. An unidentified vessel is detected near a critical shipping lane in the Red Sea. At the same time, a cyber attack plunges a major European city into darkness. Financial markets crash. Communication networks fail. Rumors fly faster than reality. In bunkers and command centers around the world, leaders are receiving conflicting data. Who acts first? Who hesitates? Which nation misinterprets the signals and launches a retaliatory strike, believing they are defending themselves? No one can answer that question. And that is the terrifying reality that experts are warning us about. The first true spark won't be a grand declaration of war. It will likely emerge from a fog of miscommunication, technological failure, and human error. And so, the world stands suspended. Every nation is watching. Every leader is calculating. And every one of us is unknowingly standing on the edge of history. Will diplomacy and restraint pull us back from the brink? Or are we already in the final countdown to irreversible consequences? There is no answer. The future is not yet written. The world waits, silent, trembling, and holding its breath. The next move is unknown. History will decide. And for those of us watching, the question remains, who will act first? And what will the world look like when they do? Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis valuable, please like, subscribe, and follow for more deep dives into the events shaping our world.